Much of the origins of voodoo are relatively unknown, but the religion likely began in the region of Benin in West Africa. Voodoo is based on the beliefs of ancestor worship and animism, or when it's believed that nature and inanimate objects have consciousness. Voodoo made its way into America from Haiti and Africa during the transatlantic slave trade, and because of this, the religion evolved, and Louisiana or New Orleans voodoo differs from its African origins. It is a community-based religion, and its practices aren't written down, but rather passed on orally from generation to generation. Those who practice voodoo believe in one God and many spirits who have power over humans and nature. These spirits are referred to as Lao. They also believe spirits of the dead can be used as mediums for the living and the divine through spiritual possession, believing that when you are possessed, God chose to temporarily displace a spirit in favor of another. Voodoo practitioners call on the spirits to help the sick and needy and to guide them through their life and struggles. Many of the slaves of the South were forced to conform to Catholicism, and because of this, much of New Orleans voodoo took on a sort of mask of Christianity, where many of the deities were replicated after traditional saints. It may have been during voodoo's Catholic American transformation that the emphasis on the magical aspects of voodoo, such as curses and talismans, began, as when slavery ended, it wasn't uncommon for people to advertise themselves as voodoo doctors, selling magical objects and spells. For these reasons, voodoo often gets a bad rep of being very dangerous, devil-worshipping, or taboo, when most of that misconception comes from the time period and racism towards those who practiced it. The most famous practitioner, or voodoo queen, of New Orleans was Marie Laveau, who was born free in the French Quarter on September 10, 1801. She was the biological daughter of Marguerite Henry, a free black woman who was of Native American, African, and French descent, and Charles Laveau, a free black man of African and French descent, and a merchant. Marie Laveau had a total of 17 children over her lifetime to 2 different lovers, but only 2 of the 17 ended up living on into adulthood. With so much loss, Laveau took solace in the Catholic Church and was a devout Roman Catholic throughout her life. She was also very talented in herbal medicine, but instead of using that ability to gain power in the Catholic Church, began to work as a voodoo priestess. Laveau trained under many other voodoo practitioners, and soon enough was running religious services in her home as well as in public at St. Louis Cemetery. The spiritual possessions and overall mysticism that surrounded these services made Laveau extremely popular and brought many spectators, both black and white. Laveau continued these practices for the rest of her life, not only serving as a spiritual guide, but also reading minds, predicting the future, and offering to give or remove curses, until her death on June 15, 1881, at the age of 79. Marie Laveau still lives on through her legacy, and is still known as the Voodoo Queen of New Orleans. Voodoo has had a lasting impact on the state of Louisiana, as well as on the whole of the United States, as many still practice it today. Even though it is surrounded by the negative connotations of what its practices stand for, voodoo is majorly misrepresented in today's modern media. Not all of the religion is based upon hurting or tricking others. In fact, very little of it is, as many of the practices stand for helping one another through life's struggles. Nonetheless, voodoo has had a very poignant impact on the history of not only the United States, but the world.